Hello, Reds from around the world, and welcome to All for United. A very, very, very special episode. Not just special because we're celebrating the demise of the woeful Leeds United, but also special because we're brought with a wonderful special guest, all the ever-present, the wonderful, amazing Barry. And of course, some guy named Luke Chadwick. Guys, thank you.
Good lad.
It is wonderful to have you here. I'm really excited to talk about everything that has been 2020 Manchester United wise, of course. But starting it off, how are we all set up for Christmas?
Yeah, all good. Ready to go. Looking forward to it. Going to be a little bit different this year, but hopefully still be able to enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, I was slagging Luke just before I went on live that I'm hoping someone buys a new curtains. Maybe if we do a poll here and put money together, we can sort that out for him. But he likes them. That's fine. And guys, everyone in the comments, please make sure to send in any questions, any thoughts, anything you have. And we're going to have a lot of fun here tonight. My favorite thing about Christmas is that it's socially acceptable to drink in the morning. So that's really all I'm looking forward to. Except myself and Barry work in hospitals. Barry has a slightly more important job than I do. So maybe if we drink in the morning, it mightn't be as helpful for the patients, but it'll be more exciting for us. But guys, as we know,
I'm on vacation, Joe.
You're on vacation, but you're still in South Africa, so that doesn't count as anything.
Yeah.
Is there more?
Yeah,
you're in Cape Town, aren't you?
Sorry,
You're in Cape Town.
Yeah.
Quick question for Luke. Sorry, go on. Barry, go on. Finish.
When the lockdown is over in the UK, I'm expecting you guys to come as guests over here. You love it.
Yeah, sure. Look, I literally will go anywhere at this stage. Just leaving my house is a pleasure. Someone's dog just come in. Here. Yeah, go for it. I'm going to ask this question. Where is Quinton Fortune from in South Africa? Is he from Cape Town?
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to ask Luke that. Luke, is Quinton Fortune from Cape Town?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah, he was my favorite name ever to say. Quinton Fortune. He sounds like a Bond villain. That's what I always thought. Who is lucky enough to be born Quinton Fortune? He must have very cool parents. But we're here to talk about football as well as not who has the cooler name. Basically, okay, we have just coming back from beating the woeful Leeds United. And to this side of me, which is the left side, Luke Chadwick, who has the rare... I don't think Barry has done this, but I can't quote on this. Luke has not only played against Leeds, but also scored against Leeds, and was also in some way assisted by our current manager, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, with a little bit of help from Nigel Martin. Luke, can you just tell us a little bit about what it was like playing on that day? And I'm going to focus in on you on this.
Yeah, it was obviously incredible to come. I remember coming on at half time because I think Nicky Butt got an injury. I came on. I'd been getting dogs abuse when I was warming up in front of the Ellen Road faithful. But I remember Scholesy playing Ollie through, and he had quite a weak shot, which was strange for him really. Because usually it ended up in the net, but Nigel Martin somehow spilt it. And I couldn't miss from there. It was right in front of the goal, and I tapped it in and ran off like an absolute lunatic. It was a rare goal for me, that's for sure, but something that I'll forever be proud of. And it was a wonderful moment, probably my best in a Man United shirt, I'd say.
Yeah, I did notice because I was watching the highlights there. You were very subdued in your elation.
I was so surprised that I'd scored.
Yeah. It was unbelievable. I was just saying before we went on as well, Luke scored against Panathinaikos in 2001, wasn't it? It was around that time, and I felt like I don't know if it felt like we were playing Panathinaikos the whole time or it was just the twice, but it felt like we were playing them every week. But Luke scored, and for whatever reason, in my family home, the neighbours were over. Everyone was over watching the game. I'm not even really sure why. Maybe there's something else going on. But I just remember when Luke scored, the whole place just erupted. And I remember now as well is because there was a few Liverpool fans there who were giving you a hard time. And when you scored, yeah, I know, I was shocked. And we killed them for you, Luke. We never seen them afterwards again. They were never allowed back in the house. But And that memory of that goal going in and everyone in the sitting room kind of lives long in my heart. So it was. Yeah. So thank you for that, and it's very much appreciated.
Joe, whilst I've never scored against Leeds United, I was watching live on television when Luke scored, and I can tell you my celebration was more intense than his. That I can tell you.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I found it very hard to believe. I thought Luke was going to blow up.
Yeah. We celebrate big here, I can tell you.
Yeah, it generally turns into a civil war. Well, guys, we're going to move on, and we're going to be talking about Man United in 2020. Okay, it's been an interesting year for everyone involved in humanity. You know, something incredibly unprecedented, and something that I hope we never have to go through again until probably next year. But I think we can kind of break up. I think even starting in January, all right, it was a pretty dismal start. I know we lost I think Burnley game might have been the last week in December, but we can kind of count that as well. But it was a pretty dismal start to the year, and then we just brought in, who knew, someone who was so prolific in Portugal could just come over here and be as prolific. Can we remember, Luke? Can you remember your thoughts on when Mr. Fernandes was brought in?
Yeah, to be honest, I'd not seen a huge amount of him when he signed for the club. Obviously, weren't sure what sort of impact he was going to make. I think we needed someone to make an instant impact. I weren't 100% sure that he'd do that, but I couldn't be much further wrong about that one, because it's been incredible what he's done since he's come in. Not obviously his performances, goals, assists. He couldn't have done much more, really. And it's been a pleasure being able to watch him play. And he really is certainly a talisman now at the club, and he's got really high standards to live up to, but somehow he's managed to do that throughout his whole time here.
It is like unprecedented is not the word to use. It's like, how has he come? Because we were after, and I remember when we were after him in the summer, and I was like, Ollie wants him, let's get him. But in the same way, I was like, he's only really done it in Portugal. Lots of players have done it in Portugal. I could probably do it in Portugal. And like it never really, you know, and he was at Udinese, I think, beforehand, and never really let the word on fire. So I was like, and the only other club that were in for him were Spurs. So I was like, is this really the guy to change everything? And then it looked like we weren't going to get him, and then we got him. And look what's happened. Barry, for yourself, how can you remember what you thought at the time compared to how you're feeling now?
Yeah, well, my first comments, Joe, there are no ways that you could have done it in Portugal, despite what you say. No chance. And in fact, we'd been linked with Bruno for a number of months prior to signing him. So I was keeping an eye on him playing for Sporting Lisbon. And he seemed to be delivering every week, captaining the team, leading, scoring a lot of goals, playing well for Portugal. And we were crying out for a player to link the midfield to the front players. So I have to say I was delighted to get him. But who would have guessed that he'd hit the ground running like he has? And I think if he carries on like this, we'll look back in time to come. Historians will look back on him as being one of our best ever signings. But of course, it's early days yet. He's doing brilliantly. One has learned from previous experience, don't get too carried away. But heck, the guy's delivering game after game. He's been absolutely sublime. And I think if he carries on like this, definitely a future leader in the team. That is for sure.
Yeah, but like, absolutely. It is. Hold on. I want to stop focusing on Barry. There we go. That's enough for you, Barry. No, it's been like absolutely, like I was saying, insane. The fact that he is just immediately, I think it's something like 29 Premier League games he's played in and has had 40 goal contributions. Like that number, those numbers don't exist, and they shouldn't exist in a modern age. Yeah, Luke, from your playing days, is there anyone you can closely compare him to, or is he just unique to himself?
Yeah, I think he's quite a unique player in the way he plays. Obviously, there was incredible players at the club that I was fortunate enough to play with while I was there. I think he's been sort of compared to Scholes to a certain extent, but plays a bit higher up the pitch than Scholes he used to. But I think he is quite a unique talent, really, in the way that he's so brave on the ball. He always takes a risk, always tries to play forward passes, and his finishing sublime as well. So, like Barry said, in years to come, he could be remembered as one of the true greats at the club. And if he keeps on the way he's going, you can see how much he loves being at United. He wants to do so well. He's got the ump when he gets subbed off against Leeds, and it's one, and that just shows the character of the man, really. And he just wants to score more goals. He wants to set more goals up, and he has got leadership qualities about him. You can see that, and you can see that he probably drives standards in training every day, and he wants to do everything properly. And he's someone who we're really probably lucky to have in terms of what he has actually achieved since he's come in. I remember watching his debut. I think it was against Wolves in a really drab game up at Trafford, and he had a couple of flashes of real magic of what he can do, but never really stamped his authority on the game. But ever since then, he's just been in a league of his own, really, in what he's done in the 29 odd games that he's played so far in the Premier League.
Yeah. Look, I think it's unfair to compare him to Scholes right now, but if he can tackle, he's probably better than him, because Scholesy was a manslaughter on the pitch. We loved him for it, but my God. But to keep going, we have a question from Stuart, and Stuart's a frequent contributor, so that's why he gets this question for you, Luke. Who was your best signing during your time at the club, do you believe?
The best player that came in, or probably the most effective while I was there, I'd probably have to say Ruud van Nistelrooy. I was sort of on my way out and not really in the team, but he came in the summer after we won the league, and he was absolutely phenomenal. I think he had a bad knee injury that scuppered when the club first tried to sign him, but he worked his socks off to get back fit, and what an incredible impact he had on the team. And he was an absolute animal in front of goal, whether it be training or in games. He just loved scoring goals. So I'd probably have to say Van Nistelrooy is the best player that came in, or the most effective player that came in while I was at the club.
Yeah, that's a great shout. And as Barry knows all too well, we had a debate a couple of months back on who was the greatest ever striker for Manchester United. I said Van Nistelrooy, Barry said Tommy Taylor, and the fans decided that I was correct. So, yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up just to remind Barry, in case you've forgotten who the king of Manchester United is.
No, I haven't.
It's this guy.
I haven't forgotten, but I just want to tell Luke that the fans that Joe is referring to are all on his payroll, so it doesn't really count. And it's, it's funny how whenever a new player comes in, the knee-jerk reaction is to compare him to somebody who's been there. So I don't know, comparing Bruno to Scholes, there's only been one Scholesy, and there'll only be one Bruno. So bit of a different player. But I hear where you're coming from, because potentially, if he carries on like this, he'll go down as one of our greatest midfielders ever.
Yeah, and let's hope that that is what happens. Let's see, we have a couple of comments coming in. Luke Chadwick, nice. I remember his goal away at Leeds. Literally just covered that. It was everyone's favourite moment. Ruud was hard to beat. Cheers, Luke. Absolutely. I am so excited for Bruno going forward, and especially, I think the only team he hasn't played yet is Liverpool. So we have that coming up in January. So if he puts the Scousers to sleep, we'll just make him a god immediately then. And speaking of games coming up, we're going to discuss throughout 2020 what was our favourite Man United game, basically. We've had a couple of ups, a couple of downs, but there's a couple of good results that stick in the memory, including Leeds that just happened on the weekend. But for Luke, what was your favourite game of 2020?
I think I'd probably go with the game yesterday, just in terms of what the team played like, the attacking intent that we've probably not seen over the past 12 months as much as what we would like to have seen. But from the first 5 minutes, like McTominay's start to the game was absolutely phenomenal. And it was like the United of old in terms of creating chances, looking like scoring a goal every time we attacked. And it was against a good Leeds team who have been much lauded this season, but they just couldn't live with United yesterday. And like I say, the sort of pace and directness of the team, it was really a pleasure to watch at times. And to score 6 goals at Old Trafford, it's been a long time coming, and it was a marvellous performance. And if we can carry that on over Christmas into the new year, who knows what the future may hold.
Yeah. Sorry there. No, I'm absolutely thrilled with what happened yesterday. It's been like I won't lie, I was scared coming to the Leeds game. Not so much I feared Leeds because I think they were a good team and they were very well drilled. But if we didn't win yesterday, everyone in my family is a Leeds fan. And the other people that aren't a Leeds fan are Liverpool fans. So I hear from each side no matter when United drop points. But if they drop point to Leeds, like it is the end of the world. Like there's no coming back from it. Barry, for yourself, what would be your favourite game of the season?
I guess there've been a few. I'd have to side with what Luke says. Fabulous game yesterday, and we looked dangerous every time we got the ball. So it was really the swagger of old. I enjoyed the game in which we beat City at home just before the lockdown. That was a good result. I enjoyed beating PSG away. So I guess victories when we played on the break were terrific. But yesterday really was, I think, when we started off and we looked at the team sheet with two holding midfielders, knowing that Leeds can be so potent on the break, we thought maybe we'd play a game of containment, but it was anything but that. So it was really most unexpected, I have to say, and I loved it. So I'd probably go along with that one, yes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And guys in the comments, please get your thoughts into what is your favorite game. I'm going to have to go with the Chelsea game when we beat them at Stamford Bridge. I think was it 2-0 or 2-1 we beat them? Mainly because I hate Frank Lampard. Not because I don't. Okay, that might be a bit too harsh. I hate how the British media have put him on a pedestal as being the greatest thing since Brian Clough. And I keep comparing Ole to him so negatively. So for the fact that we beat them in Stamford Bridge, beat them 3 times last season, but everyone remembers the one time we lost. So for me, the 2-0 Stamford Bridge, actually a ground where we frequently, they've been our bogey team for so many years that I think the only time we beat them before Ollie came in was under Fergie in his last season. We won 3-2 and they were down to 9 men. Do you remember when Torres got sent off for the dive? It was a great day. I remember that too. And then prior to that, we had a very bad run in a Stamford Bridge. It's always been a bad way to go. So I think in 2020, and it seemed to be forgotten a bit, that 2-0 victory. But for me, I think, I'm going to go for that. I'll also be a bit different, a bit of a hipster. That's kind of my thing. But to keep going, we continue on with the season. Obviously, lockdown happened. Luke, can you imagine if you were a professional footballer at the highest level like you were, and then suddenly your season is stopped midway for, I think it was 6 weeks altogether? Would that really throw a spanner in the works for you, or do you think having that time off might even do you better?
I think it was an incredibly testing situation for everyone. We'd never experienced anything like that in my lifetime anyway. I'm sure anyone else's. It was such a weird thing going on, and I'm sure it was tough for the players. I don't think any of them would have been happy about the season stopping or being suspended because of the whole coronavirus situation, but it did seem to galvanise the players somewhat. And I think post-lockdown, after that first one towards the end of last season, the team was playing some of the best football that it's played in a long time and looked like it was absolutely flying before it tailed off right towards the end of the season. But it was such a foreign situation that I don't think anyone would know how to deal with or the best way of going about dealing with it.
Absolutely fair. Oh, sorry. Where's this gone? Sorry, this thing just went haywire. Sorry. My computer just went weird for a second. The coronavirus is bad, but also we're going to bring on the fourth to make us the Fab Four. At the moment, we're just Paul, George, and Barry. I'll let you be Ringo. Welcome to John Lennon, Mr. Kartik. Kartik, thank you so much for joining us.
No worries. Sorry, guys, for coming on late. I've been in bed with a migraine.
The thumbs up. The thumbs up.
Yeah, I've been having a migraine, so I just totally missed the show. I do apologize.
So we're doing great.
Yeah, I'm all good. Great.
It's great to have you on board. We're just discussing basically the 6 week, the lockdown, what happened when just games stopped. And then obviously United came back, and we came back with an absolute bang, which was, I don't know how we expected. I didn't know how we were going to come back in the first place, because everyone was coming back in a different situation. Our first came back with Spurs, and we started off with a draw. And then after that, we just sort of hit the ground running. Barry, what are your thoughts around that time? Can you remember?
My thoughts with respect to the lockdown was that, firstly, let's speak firstly in terms of the world, and speaking medically with respect to Corona, what an absolute nightmare. It's been like living through a horror movie for much of the world. So, if you want to be philosophical about that, sport takes, second place by far with respect to that. But so much of our lives revolves around watching sport and watching football, that when we had that hiatus of no football, it was bad enough being in our various states of lockdown. But when it came back, albeit in stadia without spectators, it certainly was entertainment for people, and we welcomed it back with open arms. But who knows where it's going in the future? I think, without wishing to be too maudlin, it's going to be a long while before we see games played with full stadia. But we'll take what we get, and it's been a very, very difficult time for all concerned, of course.
Yeah, no, it hasn't been ideal whatsoever. Has not been good. Is this not? Sorry. There we go. Kartik, for yourself. Sorry,
Joe. For a supporter that supports United from thousands of miles away, the highlight of the year, every year for me, is making the pilgrimage to Old Trafford. And and please, it's in the broad picture of things, it's a minor issue. But I wonder to myself when I will next be able to do such a thing. And people are wondering that in all walks of life from all over the world with respect to many, many different things. But of course, we support from afar, and our passion is no different from what it always has been.
Yeah, absolutely. Kartik, for yourself, the first comments in, but wonderful Stuart. No excuses, Kartik. You thought Luke Shaw was the guest, admit it.
This is the good Luke.
Yeah. Well, no, you've liked Luke Shaw as of recent as well.
No, yeah, I've given him fair credit. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. But Kartik, you missed when we were discussing our favorite game of the season. For you, what would you go with?
Of
the year, of
2020. Favorite game? There's been quite a few good games. I'd probably go either the derby back in, what was it, March? Yeah, it was March, wasn't it? I'll go with that, or the PSG one, just the other month. One of those two.
Oh, that's a good shout. Actually, we completely forgot about PSG because they kind of did us a couple of weeks later. Favorite Jacob with his favorite game of the year, probably 3-2 away to Saints. That was a tough one. I wasn't expecting us to come from a win with that. Showed a lot of courage, a lot of fight to come back from 2 goals down, especially against a really well drilled Southampton side. So absolutely. Okay, guys, we'll move on towards the end of last season, we ended at Leicester. We finished the season in 3rd place, which wasn't where I thought we were going to finish just prior to the lockdown. Luke, we'll come to you first. Did you think it was a deserved 3rd place? And did we move on from 3rd place as we would have expected with our signings in the summer?
I think 3rd place, it's hard to say for Man United being a success, but I think in terms of the way the season started, it was a success to finish in the Champions League places and earn that spot in 3rd. In terms of this season, when we started off after lockdown, the last lockdown, and the team was playing so well, it was sort of a case of thinking, this is it now. We've sort of found the formula. The team was playing so well together with Greenwood, Martial, Rashford, Bruno, Pogba. They're absolutely flying. And then at the start of this season, been a bit of a anticlimax, but it's such a strange season so far. And with the result yesterday moving up to 3rd place, you do wonder what could happen with the electric performance of yesterday, what could be achieved this season. I think there is every opportunity of moving on from 3rd place and being higher up the table, albeit pains me to say Liverpool are still red-hot favourites, but hopefully they slip up a little bit, and you never know what might happen. But maybe that's me getting a little bit carried away.
I want to read between the lines there. can think. Read between the lines there. Lucas said we're going to win the league, and also I enjoyed the little sly dig of Steven Gerrard with them slipping up. So Luke, you've been our favorite guest ever just for those two things. Barry, for yourself, we came third last season, which was a little bit of shock from where we were in January. Are you happy with how we've kicked on from there, or do you think there's still more improvement to be done?
Well, there's more improvement. I mean, we've blown hot and cold, but the table doesn't lie. At the end of the season, we deserved third place because, after the lockdown, when football returned, we were blooming good. So, we deserved that. On a disappointing note, I was disappointed with our exits in the semi-finals on so many occasions last season. And let's hope we kick on. We're just not sure what we're going to get from time to time with United. I guess the euphemism is we're a work in progress, and we'll have to see. And of course, we're upbeat after a game like yesterday, but we need consistency. So hopefully we'll get it, and we will kick on. But I do think we are a significantly improved side from a number of months ago, yes. Will we win the league? I'll tell you at the end of the season. I'll remain a little bit guarded. But I do think I've got a good feeling about our visit to Anfield. We're due a win there, and I think Bruno will be a game changer at Anfield. We'll make them hate him even more.
They've not played us with Bruno yet. They're not ready for it.
Yeah.
And Barry, I hope you're comfortable on that fence, okay? Gardick, there's no subtlety with you on where we're definitely going to finish this season. But do you believe we've kicked on from 3 semi-finals we were in last season, which is a record I don't think anyone wants. We won at least 3 trophies, but we finished with 3 semi-finals. We finished third on the table, obviously, and didn't have the best starts. But do you think we have improved?
No, 100%. I mean, you've got to take into context how we approached that season, which was with a very, very terrible transfer window. We didn't replace our midfield. We had no midfield options. We had players like Pereira and Lingard, and it was sort of like, we were happy with making any kind of progress from the Europa League finish from the season before. So even if we'd finished just in the top 4, I'd have called that progress. And then we ended up going to a Europa League final. And get into semi-finals, and it's like, well, we are making progress. We're doing well in the cups. We made league progress. Okay, now let's kick on. Okay, so going into this season, again, not the transfer window we wanted, but with what we've got, with the way the season started in terms of COVID and the number of games that we're playing, and the congestion, all that nonsense. How we're performing on the pitch, the results say that we are making progress. Now, even if we weren't to go and finish, I don't know. We are in a title race at the minute. Let's not get carried away, though. As far as I will get carried away, we are going to win the league. However, as far as we can go in that title race, even if we were to finish second and finish 12, 13 points off Liverpool, that's still progress. Let's not get mixed up. That's still progress. The only thing I would say that we need to build on last season is winning a trophy. Any trophy. Get a trophy under your belt, Ollie, because then you don't have the stupid comparison that we were getting to Mikel Arteta right now, going, oh, he's won an FA Cup, so that's why he's got a bit of leeway. Right, then let's get Ollie a trophy. Now he has absolutely no excuse to be given some respect. So all I'll say is, let's go as far as we can with this title race. Let's keep going for the next 10 games to try and build some consistency. And if we can get a trophy, this is straight away progress.
Yeah, I think you can't deny anything there, what has been said, but we've touched on a little bit on the actual transfers that didn't happen, obviously, with Sancho, and there's people out there calling him, disgrace is too strong of a word, but he hasn't lived up to his hype because he's not having the best season so far, which I think is ridiculous. I'm just hoping his price goes down. But Luke, we didn't have the transfer window any of us wanted, really. Even getting Cavani now, which looks like a wonderful signing, was definitely not in the plans because it happened two months after he was made a free agent. How did you rate how the window went for us?
Yeah, it was a tough transfer window. Obviously, a lot's been made of it. A lot of criticism of the club of how it handled it. I think the news of the whole Sancho situation getting out, and it just got turned into an absolute circus, really, and it ended up not happening. As soon as it didn't happen, there was always going to be people upset because despite the fact he ain't had a great start to the season, he's a hugely gifted player. who I'm sure will bring loads to Manchester United. The Cavani one, when you looked at it, you thought maybe that was sort of a little bit last minute, a little bit of desperation, but he's already sort of proved a lot of his doubters wrong with them 2 fantastic goals against Southampton that really won 3 points at a critical time for the club. So it was disappointing. January coming up, you don't know, there's not been as much in the press this time of who the targets are, who's going to be potentially coming in. But if they can pull another rabbit out the hat like Bruno last year, I'm sure there will be a opportunity of a title charge coming up post-January.
Oh, Luke, we're getting you closer and closer to say we're going to win the league. Like we have you right there.
You can't be on a show with me and not say it. Don't worry, you'll say it eventually.
Cardigan will say it enough for all of us, but we're definitely going to get you to say it once by the end of this video. Barry, for yourself, the window wasn't great, but who do you think has been the shining light of the players that we brought in?
Well, the transfer window gets more diabolical every time. And I think that if one feeds off the clickbait that the press dish up, then you're going to find it disappointing all the time. So for me, the way I manage the transfer window is when there's an official announcement on the club's website that we've brought in a player, that's when I accept that, because I still live in hope that we're going to sign Wesley Sneijder and Nicholas Gaitan one day. So that's if one is to believe the press, we handled the transfer window terribly. But I don't know if the press are to be believed with respect to that. There are no official mentions from the club, so we let it slide. So Cavani, I was a bit uncertain of with respect to being a sort of aging player out on a free. But then you watch him like he did against Southampton, and you listen to a pundit, dare I say it, like Michael Owen, who, believe it or not, extols his virtues every week, and tells us what a great player he is in terms of his movement, etc. I'm excited at his arrival, but it's a matter of how does he fit into the team. But overall, the transfer window was extremely disappointing. We've brought in a couple of youngsters ostensibly to play on the right flank. I don't know what we should expect from them. And when you look at the team, we're crying out for a right winger, which we've been doing so since Fergie retired. So, our transfer windows have been poor of late, and hopefully they will improve. But of course, every time United are linked with a player, the price goes up. Agents use our club, I think, to manipulate contracts for their players. So let's adopt a wait and see policy. And it'll be great if a couple of these youngsters that we brought in do the trick. We'll see. Watch the space.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout. And Cardigan, I'm going to bring you in. I have a question here from Stuart, more of a statement, but it's a question for you. We dodged a bullet not signing Sancho for the fee Dortmund wanted. What are your thoughts on that? And also on Pellistri and Diallo coming in?
Yeah, on Diallo and Pellistri, I think it's better to point you over to a show that we did on this channel with 2 journalists who know them really well. We spoke about Pellistri and Diallo, so that was with 2 journalists. It's on this channel. Go search it up. It's a great video. I hosted that once, that's why it's so brilliant. I'm joking. On the Sancho thing, I think it was annoying that we put all our eggs in that basket. Because, you can say all day that, we shouldn't have paid the 120 mil, but you can't judge his form now in according to his price in the summer, because let's not forget, we agreed personal terms with Sancho before we went into proper negotiations with Dortmund, because a player who has agreed to move somewhere has clearly meant that he wants to join that club. So if he then doesn't get that transfer, how do you expect him to perform after that? I mean, for example, it's not the best example because he was shit when he joined us, but Alexis Sanchez, he wanted to join Manchester City the same season that we signed him, and he didn't get that move. So for the rest of that season, up until the January move, he wasn't performing, and that was the whole thing of, City fans were like, we dodged a bullet with that. No, he wanted to join you, he didn't get the move, so obviously he's going to be demotivated and not perform. We saw it with Eriksen at Spurs. He wasn't putting in the sort of performances. So I wouldn't judge Sancho's performances on his price tag. I'd say that's a lot to do with not getting his move that he wanted, because we know he wants to come back to England. We know he fancied a move to United. and he wanted to join us. So I wouldn't go on that. The rest of the window was a shambles. I mean, the Cavani thing, yes, it was a panic buy, but it's clear that we wanted a striker in his mold. I mean, we easily forget this as well. Ollie was in for Haaland in January. He's the kind of striker that we want, a big physical kind of striker. So that's not a panic buy, but it's one that we had to do just because there was no one else, I think. So it is a panic buy and it isn't. But the Sancho thing, don't judge him on the price tag. If we get to do a deal later, yeah, we'll do it for cheaper. We still should have signed him.
Yeah, I think that's a fair enough statement. And to be fair, look, what annoys me is when fans get upset about how much money is being spent because it's not our money. Like let the club spend 120 million on this player. I don't care what like any other fan says to me, like from rival clubs. I'm like, I'm not paying these guys wage. I'm not doing anything like that. If they think he's worth that much, just go for it. All right, they'll make it back by selling an extra like 50,000 jerseys or whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't do economies. That wasn't even a sentence. But we can't keep going without not touching on Europe. It was an interesting Champions League group that we had. I know this is going to probably end in a lot of tears. But we started off perfectly. And guys, please keep getting your comments in. Thank you so much for the arguments that are happening in this group about Sancho. But yeah, I know, Stuart, they don't sound. I just was putting words together. I'm very sorry. Okay. I don't do these.
Do we have to talk about the Champions League?
We do have to. It's part of the 2020.
I already get the replies on my tweets when I say we're in a title chase. They go, "Oh, do you not remember what happened to the Champions League?" And I go, oh, "Yeah, I do. Leave me alone." Yep.
But that's entirely your own fault. But Luke, we'll start with you as we did before. Is there something we can take from what happened in this group? Because obviously we know we can beat the best, but we can also be humiliated by them as well. So is it more positive what happened? Is it still a learning curve, or what do you think anyway? What do you take from what our 6 games in the Champions League?
Yeah, I don't think you can really take a huge amount of positives out of getting knocked out at the early stage of the Champions League. Obviously, it was a really tough group, but you've got to play the best teams. You've got to beat the best teams to win it. And I think we were all lulled into a false sense of security after 2 outstanding performances to start the group against Leipzig and then against Paris against last year's finalists. But then after that, the sort of wheels fell off a little bit. A disaster in Istanbul with one of the most surreal goals I think I've ever seen in Champions League football, the first one. And then after that, obviously, it was a good performance, in all fairness, for about 70 minutes against Paris at Old Trafford. But then, obviously, Fred got sent off for a rash challenge. And when you play against teams of that quality with that calibre of player, it's always going to be tough to get a result. And then, obviously, went into the last game needing a draw against another talented team. But again, yet another poor start to a game. Didn't get playing till about 65, 70 minutes. And after that, the dream was over, as it were. So another season in Europa, I'm sure lessons would have been learned. And hopefully, if we win the league, like everyone's saying we're going to do, we'll definitely be back.
Oh, we're getting them closer. We're getting them closer. But Luke, just before I come off, you said there, as we all know, in the final game we were playing for a draw. Would that affect your mentality, or is it always a United win, or do you kind of take the foot off the pedal a little bit, knowing that you just need a draw?
No, I don't think the way Ollie would have prepared the team, I don't think that's the Manchester United way. I'm pretty sure they would have gone into that game to go and win the game in Germany. It's always dangerous trying to play for a draw, but again, slow start cost us, and it was always an uphill struggle. So it was huge disappointment. A couple of good performances, which obviously can take heart from, but it was very little to take from getting knocked out of them early rounds of the Champions League. Because a club like Manchester United wants to be thereabouts when you get into the real business end of it, which the best clubs do.
Yeah, absolutely. Barry, for yourself, is there anything we can take from it going forward? We've got the Europa League coming up in March, where we're going to be playing teams of not the caliber we want to be playing against. But the fact that we've shown that we can show up and beat the best teams in Europe, can that give us a positive that we should be winning a European trophy this year?
Well, it's a lack of consistency. The Champions League was a bloody shambles. The game in Istanbul, I mean, you can't blame the manager for those shocking goals that we conceded. That's where we were eliminated. That was an atrocious result. And then, going further into the game, I do think naivety was shown when Fred probably should have gotten a red card initially, got the yellow card. As fans, Twitter was alive with pleas to the manager, get him off the field. We knew he'd get sent off. And then in the game against Leipzig, the reaction, they were 2 up after 13 minutes. And the reaction really was to make a change at halftime. I think changes should have been made earlier. But of course, I, like millions of others, are an armchair expert. So yes, we blew hot and cold. We showed that we can beat the best, but we also showed we can lose to the worst as well, which is not a good trade to have. Going into the Europa League, I would hope that lessons are learned maybe from last season. But we've got a tough draw in the round of 32. Can we win it? Yes, we can. And it'll tie nicely together to win the double, to win the league and to win the Europa League as well. So, yes, we can. And I think lessons will be learnt going into this. And what he has to do is he has to make us more difficult to beat. Not having this absolute gung-ho attitude, playing the so-called United way, setting out to win every game 5-0. In Europe, it's different. The referees are harsher. You're not playing against slouches. These teams are all good. And a lot of the lesser-known teams have improved tremendously. So you've got to treat them with respect. There's no question about it. But can we progress there? Yes, most definitely.
Thanks for accidentally quoting Bob the Builder. I don't know if that was on purpose, but it was greatly appreciated, Barry. And you spoke of armchair tacticians and armchair experts. We have our very own Kartik here, who is our resident armchair tactician. Kartik, for you, is there anything we can take from this? Are we going to improve going forward? Has Ollie even learned from the mistakes made in the Champions League, which has gotten us on our mini run in the Premier League now?
First of all, I'm not just an armchair tactician, all right? That's a very disrespectful word to call me. I do a bit of coaching myself, right? Put that out there. Anyway, on to the main point. No, in terms of the Champions League, there were things to learn there because I think he learned a lot about his team, what they're capable of, because in the big games, I mean, like the other two, they covered it already, but the start that we made to the Champions League was superb. I mean, going into that group, everyone was saying, this is a tough group. We're probably going to finish third. If we get into the knockout stages, great. But after those first 2 games, we were thinking, can we go and top this group? So that shows what the players can do. They were capable of doing that. They were capable of, putting out a performance that follows instructions, tactical instructions to the letter. Fantastic. And then Istanbul showed us that they can switch off. And that's when he started to really learn about this squad, because that goal, the Demba Ba goal, was ridiculous. I mean, if I was a coach in the team and I saw that, I'd be thinking, come on, surely someone's communicating. Someone needs to be telling Matic, don't go that far in. Drop back, cover the man that's over there. Always go 2v1 when you're attacking a corner at the other end. But what's up the path? What? Oh, I never mind. Right, I'm glad someone recognizes me. Anyway, yeah, so he learned a lot about his team. And then, obviously, he showed a little bit, like Barry said, naivety in that PSG game, should have taken Fred off. That's a learning point. Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. We go to Leipzig, we should have got a point. We probably set up in the wrong way there. We didn't change things quick enough, and we're out. With regards to what we do from there, I think now we have to... I think he has learned from that in a way, because in these bigger games against, say, the likes of Man City, say the likes of Leeds, I feel like we've been a bit more switched on with regards to preparation and how we look at opposition, and I feel like we're a bit more sensible with it. And as Barry said, we could go and win the Europa League. However, it depends on where we are in the league. If we go to March around, I mean, I'm joking now that we're in a title race, but don't get me wrong. If we get to March when the Europa League rolls around and we're still 3 or 4 points off Liverpool, I better be getting a call from Ollie to play in the midfield in the Europa League. I don't want anyone else near that midfield. We're focusing on the league. I better be getting a call. That's my take on the Europa League. If we drop off and it's just a case of top 4, then okay, let's try and win the thing. But if we're still in the position we're in, Ollie, I'll play in midfield for you, mate.
Yeah, expect the phone call. Yeah, to kind of finish on the 2020 aspect, we'll look towards 2021. So, Luke, we're in a very good position now. We are.
This is where you say it, Luke. This is where you say it.
I'm trying to just get you going for it. Okay, if you're ever going to do it, if we're ever going to get the soundbite, we need it now, baby.
Luke, there are millions waiting to hear this.
Joe's got the tweet ready. Luke says 21 in 21.
Yeah, I'm sweating here. Okay, so if you wouldn't mind, just have your little say whenever it needs to be said. Then just give us a little soundbite, and then you're getting the best Christmas present ever.
Comments, pressure him. Come on.
Yeah, get him. Get everyone in the comments. But Luke, obviously, we are in. I don't know what position we're in the table right now, but we're in third right now, okay?
Third.
But with a win in a game in hand, we will be 2 points off the top. We're still in 4 cup competitions. We're obviously playing Everton in the League Cup on Wednesday.
Yep.
So, what are your hopes, expectations, demands, even for Manchester United in 2021?
I think, like Kartik just mentioned, I think league has to take priority. The word that Barry used earlier is consistency, really. That's the one thing that we've probably not had over the past 12 months. But saying that, even without that consistency, with a real poor home record this season, we're still, like you say, 2 points off Liverpool if we win the game in hand. So the hopes of, I'm sure the dream is to win the Premier League, to be up there.
Oh, so close. Oh. Come on, Luke. You're so close.
But the Europa League's obviously another prestigious tournament, but the Premier League takes priority over everything. That's what Manchester United have been built on, winning league titles over the years. So I'm sure the opportunity is there. The fear is Liverpool, the way that, and again, I hate actually saying this, that they are look on another level. A 7-0 at Palace the other day. It's going to be hard to catch them. Obviously, progress will be being closer to them, but it is a strange season. It's
21, Man United.
Anything could happen. So I'm hopeful of winning the Premier League, but I can't. I ain't got a bloody clue anyway. So,
so Luke, if you were going to just say a wild thing, we'll say that the chances of 21 and 21 happening. Would you say 100% then?
No. Who knows? Poetic justice would be 21 and 21. So let's hope for keeping consistency, and who knows where that could take us in the second half of the season.
I think this is the best we're going to get. Boo, Luke, boo. Barry, for yourself, we are, like I said, we're in a good position now. We're in a bit of form. Where do you see us going next season? Where do you hope, and where do you actually think we'll go?
Well, I hope there'll be no further lockdown. So hopefully we'll be going all over Europe and all over England playing football still, and fans going there as well. I do think we'll progress. I predict that we will win a trophy. I'm not sure which trophy it'll be. Am I a realist, or am I like you, Joe, imbibing a lot of Guinness, thus saying that we're going to win? Is a major problem. Having said that, hopefully we've put matters right, because if you go back to the start of the season and our home form, we were consistent, but we were consistently bad. So hopefully we've put an end to that. And as mentioned earlier, United need to be made difficult to beat. That's where we need to come from, where we get out there and we grind out results. Can't always be beautiful, but I think we will see us progressing. I think for the Ollie in and the Ollie out cruise, it's Ollie in for me, because he's progressing the club and we are moving in the right direction. This transfer window is an important one. We do need some bolstering in those positions that we've mentioned. And like I say, I'm optimistic. I think we will come away this season with a trophy. But in reality, do I think that we will win the league? I'll answer that in May.
That damn fence, Barry. We'll get it off you eventually. Oh, you're back again.
We're in my profession, we're conservative, Joe. We got to take, we calculated in what we say, because you guys are recording this. And of course, if I come out and say, of course, we're going to win the league by 20 points.
He said it!
You'll have
Yeah.
all your,
Win the league by 20 points!
and all your disciples will be laughing at me.
Barry, if I worried about that, I would never speak.
Yeah, like the amount of shit that Carabao talks online, I'm surprised.
I've more to lose than you have, my friend. So I've got to be a realist, okay? And Joe records all these things, and he's targeting me. I know this.
You don't know anything. Cardick, for yourself, we're in a good position. How do you hope, pray, and see 2021 going?
First of all, I hope I can be back at Old Trafford because I've bloody missed it. It's been annoying because we've missed loads of great things. We've missed Anthony Martial's first hat-trick. We've missed Rashford's first hat-trick. We missed the Leeds win. I mean, come on, these are things that it would just be insane in a stadium, and I'd probably be nearly falling off the Stretford end again, and someone would have to save me. So I want to be back in the stadium, but I know that's not going to happen for a while, and probably not till the end of the season. So looking at it, you've got to think just consistency. I want us to improve our home form. I'd like us to keep this run going of being, well, Barry said we need to get difficult to beat, but we kind of are already. I mean, we haven't lost that many games. I mean, Ollie loves to bring out the last 40, 45 games. We've not been that bad. We've been one of the better teams in this calendar year. So I'd like us to continue that form, try and become up there with the top three, which I think we are at the minute. Our squad is good enough to be that. So I'd like us to keep pushing. See in another 10 games where we're at, because this period is the most important. Going into December, January, this is where your season gets made. So we need to try and string a run of wins together. Hopefully win a cup. I'd like us to win the Carabao Cup because it can be a kick on. I mean, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup. I mean, we saw in the 05-06 season. I mean, before we went to win the league the next season, we won one of those trophies, and it helped us out. It can be a thing that acts as a step, and I think this squad needs a trophy because it's all good winning these big games, but if you can't win a trophy, you don't have that experience, and that brings you something else, knowing that you've won a trophy. I feel like some of our players are good and they're great, but they need a bit of attitude about them to say, you know what, I'm a trophy winner. This is Manchester United. I'm part of a trophy winning side. I can go and lead this team. And the only person we've got in that mold at the minute is Bruno Fernandes, and he's only lost 3 Premier League games with us, which is a ridiculous stat on its own. So we need a trophy to back us up. We need a trophy to back Ollie up and to further cement the progress we've made. And hey, if we're still within touching distance of Liverpool, you never know.
Say it.
We're going to win the league. We're going to win the league.
Perfect. If we can we'll Photoshop that so it looks like Luke's.
If we win the league, I'm paying for Barry to fly out to Manchester. There you go.
Okay, that shows how much you actually think we're going to win the league.
I've recorded that, Kartik. And Kartik, business class, please.
I never said that. You'll be in the cargo.
Guys, just for a final few minutes, and I hope this is okay. I just have a couple of questions that I've kind of been playing on my mind ever since we found out Luke was going to be on the show that I'd love to ask him, if that's all right. Just one or two extremely personal questions. And guys as well, and if you have any in the chat, please come in. We've had great stuff come in, but it's on Ollie as a manager, and we discussed this a couple of, I think 2 weeks ago. Myself and Barry were on a podcast together with James Ridge, a contributor, when we were discussing the managers that came under Ferguson, the players under Ferguson that went into management. And in your playing time, and I've seen loads of interviews where he discussed Roy Keane, what he was like as a leader, as a captain. And for me, he's my personal hero. I think the man is just, in like everything he's done in the game for where he come from, it's just magnificent. But I would have never have imagined that if you asked me in the year 2000, who do you think will be Manchester United manager in 20 years' time? I would have put my house on Roy Keane being manager and not Solskjaer. But obviously you were on the training ground with both people. Is it a surprise to you that Ollie went into management, first of all? And is it also a surprise to you that Keano maybe hasn't hit the heights in management as we would have expected or thought he would have gone into?
Yeah, I think back in my time when I was playing there, the way the game was, you sort of look at the players that are really vocal, real sort of loud players, want to lead people, and you look at the likes, obviously Roy Keane, Gary Neville, that sort of character. You probably wouldn't have said that about Ollie. Was like a wonderful person, incredibly hard-working professional, done everything he could to get the most out of himself every day, but a real nice guy as well. And I think as time's moved on, the game's changed to a certain extent as well, in terms of the way it's more managing individuals now, the way the game is, and getting the most out of individual players rather than maybe the manager shouting at the group or getting a reaction that way. And I think Ollie's always had an incredible way, even with the short time that I worked with him or played with him, of how he was around people. And I think you can see that in his management style. He's 100% got that in him to tell people when they're not doing enough, or tell the group when they're not doing enough. But I think the way he deals with individuals has been quite plain to see, and particularly last season when we come out of lockdown, of getting them probably the best performances I've seen in a Manchester United shirt from the likes of Pogba and Martial. From the outside looking in, maybe quite hard players to deal with to get the most out of them. And I think Ollie has got that in abundance, of the way that he treats people, and probably more important than anything else in terms of the managers that come in. Obviously, Moyes had a more or less impossible job taking over from the manager, and then Van Gaal, Mourinho, world-class managers, but probably haven't got the culture of Manchester United embedded in them, which you can see Ollie has. And I think he's trying to build something long-term, not a short-term fix, getting that similar sort of environment that Sir Alex built over all them years. And I generally think that Ollie is the right man for the job, and he can really deliver for United.
Yeah, absolutely. We just got a question in here from Fred as well. What is your best memory of the boss?
Probably the best memory I've got is when I signed for the club at 14 years old, and I went up for a trial at Manchester from where I live in Cambridge. And when I got home, my mum picked me up from the train station and said that afternoon Alex Ferguson had phoned her up to ask if I'd sign for the club. And as soon as I've heard that, it was probably the most amazing feeling I've ever had as a 14-year-old little kid, getting told that the greatest manager ever has just phoned your mum up to ask to sign for him. And it was them little things that he'd done, them small details that he'd go to, that brought obviously the success, the most incredible man that I've probably ever met in my life. So that would have been the moment of my first ever experience with him going to the trouble to phone up my mother to ask me to sign for the club.
Yeah, and I know you were 14 when you met him for the first time, but did he live up to the hype? You know, like maybe it's a better person to ask would be your parents, because obviously you might be too young to really realize the magnificent man he was and still is. But like, was he everything that you'd imagine he'd be?
Everything and more. He ran the club from top to bottom. He'd be at the under-18s game on a Saturday morning. Yeah, he knew everything that was going on. He was the first person to arrive at the training ground, last person to leave. I'm sure loads of people have said that about him. But the life lessons that you learn signing for that incredible organisation and all of that came from him, and the way he was the leader of the club, and he was someone you always looked up to. When you used to go out and train, a lot of the time the coach, when I was there, Steve McLaren, would take the session, and Sir Alex had come out 20 minutes after the session had started. But just his presence, just his aura would raise the tempo, raise the standards, and he just had something so special about him, and he was an incredible leader.
Absolutely. Sorry, I pulled it out there now. Any you guys got any? You guys
Sorry?
Good? You good? We got it. But yeah, no. Sorry, I've one last. Do you know what, like, Luke? You're a Cambridge United fan growing up, weren't you?
Yeah, big fan of the club.
And that was I remember, and also you played against United. Was it in the 4 years ago? Was it?
Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago now. Yeah.
And this might seem like an odd question, and probably a stupid question as well. But like, growing up, was it your dream to play for Cambridge? And like, was it ever a thought of you that like, I'm not going to go play for Man United, I want to play for Cambridge, that's just where my heart is? Or was it always the highest level you were aiming for?
yeah, all I ever wanted to do was be a footballer. That was a dream, sort of the fantasy. When I was running around my garden as a kid, I was always in a Cambridge United shirt, pretending I was playing there. Obviously, when I got the opportunity to go up to Manchester, it was huge because Man United were head and shoulders above everyone else back then. All the best young players around Britain were going to sign for them. So there was many early days in my digs in Salford when I was on the phone, homesick, crying to my mum saying, I want to come home and sign for Cambridge. But to have had the opportunity to have been in a small part of such a amazing organiser, an amazing football club, it is incredible. Like everything about it, from the second I went up to Man United, the way you were made to feel, the way you were treated, I fell in love with the place, and I'm delighted to have been part of it for a small amount of time, but it will live long in the memory, and so many lessons that I learned there, not just about football, about life in general. So I certainly owe the football club a lot, but I am a big Cambridge United fan, so I was lucky enough to do both over the years.
Absolutely. And in your, because obviously being from Cambridge United, was there many Man United fans in your family, or was it all just Cambridge diehards?
There was mostly Cambridge fans. My dad's from Bury, so he was a big Bury fan, but he obviously knew a lot of people up north, so it was not really many Man United fans in the family. But as soon as I signed there was one or two more. But then they saw me play and then stopped supporting them, I think.
And we're going to give Fred the last question, which is probably on everyone's mind. Best player you played with at Man United?
Yeah, obviously get asked this question a lot, and people think it's a hard question to answer, but there was one player who really stood out in my time there, and it was Paul Scholes. He was an absolute genius. We used to do a lot of tight possession sessions and tight five-a-side games, and Scholes was head and shoulders above everyone else. He had eyes in the back of his head. He could just do everything. Although I was fortunate enough to play with so many world-class players, Scholes would be the one that stood out as the best player.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to deny that. I think we'll finish it there now, guys. That's been the Man United season review for 2020. As we know, as Luke has said many times over the show this evening, that we are definitely winning the league. If you're only tuning in now, we tried to calm him down, but he said a quadruple is happening. There's no way around it. Even Cardick thought he was after losing his mind a bit, but hey, he knows what he's talking about, our Luke. Guys, thanks so much for joining tonight. Of course, to Barry, to Cardick, and especially to Luke for joining us this evening. It's been wonderful having you here throughout the past hour. We have a couple of shows lined up. We obviously have the post reaction for the Everton game coming up on Wednesday, which Cardick will be taking control of the match day of that again. And we've Women's Weekly on Thursday. But up until then, it's just about Christmas coming. So I hope all of you, wherever you are having a wonderful time leading up to Christmas. And I hope you all put in money to get Luke some new curtains. So from all of us here at All for United, thank you so much for joining us.
21 is coming.
21 is coming straight from Luke's mouth. Yeah.
Get ready.
Sound guys.
Get ready.
Mate.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Bring on the title charge.
Yeah.
Joe, you've mentioned to me that you're a fan of music and rock operas, and being a fan of Tommy, what we need to make our theme song is "Got a Feeling 21's going to be a good year."
Going to be a good year. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. See you later.